Welcome to the summary of Do Hard Things. Why We Get Resilience Wrong and the Surprising Science of Real Toughness by Steve Magness. Let's uncover the gems together. Key point 1. Guess who's tough? Meet Jake. He wakes up at 4 a.m. daily, takes an ice bath, and runs 10 to 15 kilometers. He's tough. You might even follow him on social media and compare your lifestyle to his. Now, what about Sarah, a single mom of a teenager? She navigates her child's luxurious moods daily, takes care of the household, and all that, while having a 9-to-5 job. Is she not tough? In truth, she might be even tougher than Jake. And let us tell you why. We usually associate toughness with the power to blindly push through, mostly athletically or in business, like a runner who's nauseous but still keeps going, or a boss who toxically demands his employees to work extra hours. But what if toughness has nothing to do with being extra? What if it's more about accepting life's challenges, leaning in, and making clear decisions under stress? In other words, what if toughness is not about putting yourself through hardships, but navigating through adversity when it comes your way? Toughness isn't about ignoring pain. It's about acknowledging it and dealing with it wisely. This summary will explain why we got the idea of mental resilience wrong and teach you the 4 pillars of true toughness. Are you curious? Then let's go. Plus, in our Try This section, you'll find practical, easy-to-follow advice on becoming mentally and physically resilient. Key point 2. Should we get comfortable being uncomfortable? Have you ever heard of Hell Week? No, it's not a week before your deadline or days of Thanksgiving preparations when the whole family comes over. Hell Week is the hardest part of Navy SEAL training. It lasts 5 days with almost no sleep, during which recruits do intense workouts, swim in freezing water, and push their bodies to the limit. It determines who is mentally and physically tough enough to be a SEAL. When they discovered such a practice, many trainers thought, I'll train my team the same way to filter out the weak and toughen up the strong. Thus, we have some crazy stories of coaches tyrannizing their teams and organizing boot camps with impossible conditions. Yet, there's something fundamentally wrong about this idea. The thing is, Hell Week begins after the Navy SEALs complete about 15 to 16 weeks of thorough physical and psychological training. So, it's more like a test than training per se. However, many coaches used this element from the military as an exercise tool. No wonder the results weren't impressive. As time showed, many athletes of this callous toughness era developed discipline out of fear. Fear of being yelled at, punished, or kicked out of the team. But they had no motivation to train when the pressure wasn't there. Throwing people in the deep end doesn't work unless they've been taught the basics of how to swim. Steve Magness. Steve Magness suggests that there's a healthier way. Whether you want to push yourself or your team to reach better results, start with training. Build the base upon which you will test the limits. That way, you create a toolkit to manage the adversity. And that's where actual toughness is born. To create true toughness, the level of support should equal the level of demand. Moreover, this principle is universal to all life situations. So, don't be hard on yourself the next time you hit a wall in fitness, work performance, or parenting. Instead, think, what tools or skills am I lacking to navigate this? After all, a healthy challenge should inspire you to exceed your limits, not demoralize you. Key point 3. Don't fake it till you make it. Imagine someone who stands at the start of a marathon and makes lighthearted remarks like, "Oh, please, this is a Sunday morning run for me. I'll drink cappuccino on the finish line, waiting for others." So they start running at full speed and give up 7 kilometers in. Anyone who has ever tried running will understand they're simply being cocky, and they're probably a beginner. A 42-kilometer run is a serious undertaking, even for professional athletes. Let's explore another scenario. A runner stretches their calves, ties their running shoes, and mentally prepares for the race. They start slow and steady, sparing their resources for the hardest parts of the journey. They don't finish first, but they make it to the end. This comparison shows that genuine confidence is humble and wise, while insecurity is loud and delusional. This explanation leads us to the first pillar of toughness: ditch the facade and embrace reality. Many think the right way to build confidence is to proclaim it. You're strong, you're capable, you rock. While positive affirmations are helpful, they don't make you powerful. Words of assurance and motivating wallpapers can be like salt. It improves the dish only if you have food on your plate. In other words, you need genuine skills and substantial experience to back you up, and only then can positive vibes make you thrive. There's no way around putting in actual work, including hours of training, reading, and practicing. More than that, you need to be realistic to be truly confident. Every challenge is a contrast of two things: expectation and capability. The more precisely you can assess what you must do and what you can do, the more confidence you have. Back to the running example, the second competitor knew what 42 kilometers felt like and had probably run long distances before. True confidence acknowledges when something is hard, while fake confidence pretends it's not. When you realistically examine the challenge ahead and what it demands from you, you can prepare and plan for when the challenging moments begin. On the other hand, fake confidence panics and crumbles in the face of adversity. It hasn't accounted for it. Key point 4. Are you your own worst enemy? You're on a highway and your car goes ping. Oil pressure warning. In a few minutes, another one. Low tire pressure. Lastly, you see the low fuel sign, but you keep going because you think, I want to toughen up my car. It should be more resilient. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet that's what many do with their bodies. Ignore the physical symptoms and just power through for the sake of toughness. Let's kill the hunger with another coffee, pull an all-nighter to catch up with work, or train until fainting. Well, in short, torturing yourself is counterproductive. And thus we come to the second pillar of toughness. Listen to your body. In the name of toughness, we rationalize the absurd. Steve Magness. Steve Magness argues that those who possess real toughness work with their body, not against it. Therefore, listening to your body is a key to making smarter, more sustainable decisions. In practical terms, it's better to take a day off to recharge your batteries rather than show up to work with negative energy. Pain, stress, and emotions are signals from your body, not obstacles to bulldoze through. Many professional athletes develop high levels of interoceptive awareness, the ability to recognize and accurately interpret internal signals. The Interoception and Mental Health Study of 2018 shows that people with better interoception are more emotionally resilient and even less prone to depression. In contrast, those who struggle to read their signals often overreact to stress, misinterpret pain, and suffer from burnout. Another trick you can apply is reframing. Say you have a big presentation and start feeling weak in the knees. A rigid view of toughness would tell you to get your act together and suppress those feelings. However, Brooks's study in 2014 showed that when people reframed anxiety as excitement before public speaking, they performed better and felt more confident. They still had increased heart rate and sweaty palms, but their perception of those sensations shifted their emotional response. So, when you feel nervous, realize that your body is just gearing up for a challenge and see it as excitement rather than insecurity. Key point 5. Solving problems like a master. Let's get back to Sarah, who you met in the first key point. Her teenage daughter's moods are often tricky. She might resist eating certain foods, talk back, and say things like, "You don't understand me," or "You don't love me," to Sarah. It feels like trying to hug a cactus. But this is where Sarah's toughness shines, specifically in the third pillar: respond instead of react. She lets her daughter express her emotions instead of starting a fight or restraining her. She gives her daughter some space and doesn't take her remarks personally. She takes time to realize her daughter is going through a rough time and this phase will pass. She chooses to stay calm. Responding instead of reacting is like chess. Take a moment to map out options and choose the best move. Many think that toughness means lashing out and proving yourself, but that approach is immature and unproductive. Instead, truly resilient people create space between stimulus and response, which is the key to performing well under pressure. Therefore, toughness isn't about knee-jerk reactions. It's about taking a breather, thinking critically, and choosing the best course of action, even when emotions run high. It's taking a few hours to respond to a frustrating email or not tailgating a car that cuts you off in traffic. But why does reacting feel easier than responding? This question takes us to how the human brain works. The amygdala, the part of the brain that processes fear or stress, takes control, triggering the fight-or-flight response. This is great if you're facing an actual danger. An immediate urge to run can save your life if you're facing a robber. But in everyday situations, this automatic response can backfire. Yet, by practicing self-awareness, breathing techniques, and emotional regulation strategies, you can create a gap between stimulus and response. Instead of letting fear or past habits dictate your actions, you can pause, assess, and choose a response that aligns with your values and long-term goals. And later, you'll find even more practical advice in the Try This section. Key point 6. Choose the hard way, but be smart with it. So far, you've understood that toughness has little to do with putting yourself through severe pain and stress, overworking, and undereating. However, the path to toughness is not all sunshine and rainbows. Becoming mentally and physically resilient includes a fair share of discomfort. This insight takes us to the fourth pillar of toughness, transcending discomfort. Returning to our running analogy, consider a marathon runner hitting the dreaded wall. The old-school mindset would say, "Suck it up and push through." But a smarter and more resilient runner acknowledges the pain, manages their pace, and reframes their struggle as a challenge they can handle. That's what transcending discomfort is all about. Recognizing, understanding, and responding to it in a way that keeps you moving forward. To explain it in more detail, when you encounter discomfort, you usually default to one of four reactions: avoid it, fight it, accept it, or reframe it. Many fall into the first two categories. We either pretend the discomfort isn't there or go into full resistance mode, trying to overpower it. But those approaches drain you. Instead, Magnus suggests that true resilience comes from acceptance and reframing. That means recognizing discomfort for what it is, a temporary state, not a permanent crisis, and shifting your perspective to make it more manageable. For example, instead of thinking, "I hate this project, it's so hard," reframe it as, "This project is challenging, but it gives me new experience and skills." Or, instead of delaying a difficult conversation with your partner, lean into the conflict. Also, instead of thinking, "Oh, here we go again with another fight," opt for, "It's unpleasant, but difficult talks help us bond on a deeper level, and it's always worth it." Reframing discomfort as a challenge instead of a threat gives you more resilience to overcome it. At the end of the day, transcending discomfort isn't about being immune to pain or stress. It's about developing the skills to handle it wisely. The toughest people aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who embrace challenges and turn them into growth. Did you know? The heart of a well-conditioned runner can pump up to 30 liters of blood per minute during intense exercise, compared to about 6 liters per minute in a sedentary person at rest. Try this. Here are 5 precise, practical action items you can start implementing to build up toughness in your everyday life. Build habits gradually. If you want to start running, begin alternating 1 minute of jogging and 2 minutes of walking for 20 minutes. Run for 30 seconds more each week until you can run without walking. This builds a solid foundation rather than forcing extreme challenges from the start. Prepare like your life depends on it. If you have an important interview, Consider the questions they might ask and create well-thought-out answers. Prepare notes with key points so you don't get lost under stress. Arrange daily check-ins. Keep a journal to note signs of fatigue, pain, or stress. If you notice any issues, adjust your routine by taking a rest day or doing a gentle recovery activity like stretching. Pause before you react. Take 10 deep breaths or count to 10 before responding to something triggering. This strategy helps you shift from a knee-jerk reaction to a thoughtful response. Practice mindful breathing. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down, close your eyes, and focus on the natural rhythm of your breath. Notice how your lungs fill up with air. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Do it for a few minutes daily to help ground you in the present moment. Implementing these steps will help you develop healthy, sustainable toughness rooted in realistic preparation and mindful self-care. That's all for now. More intriguing summaries are just a click away.